Process improvement and agility are not just team level behaviors. They require everybody on the team, all the way up to the CMO, to change how they act, think, and lead. So, in this episode, I am talking directly to the senior leaders about the old habits that it's time to unlearn. Here are the things that might have got you where you are, but are not going to serve you any longer in the age of agility. It is time to unlearn some things so that you can be a truly agile marketing executive. Welcome to the Agile Marketing Edge, the first podcast dedicated to turning agile theory into real-world marketing breakthroughs. I'm Andrea Fryrear, CEO of Agile Sherpas, and your guide on this climb to smarter, faster, outcome-driven marketing. Every week, we unpack the what, who, and how behind agile marketing, from building high-velocity workflows and slashing waste to measuring what really matters and scaling success across teams. You'll hear quick-hit strategies you can deploy today, plus candid stories from marketers who've traded chaos for clarity and never looked back. Hit follow wherever you listen, and let's carve the next switchback together. All right, first I want to tell you two stories of actual marketing leaders that I have encountered during my time as an agile marketing coach. I'm going to slightly change these up a little bit so that they're not totally identifiable, but these really did happen. Okay, so the first is the cautionary tale version. One of the very first clients that I ever had, I showed up, flew out to visit these folks on site, and the person who hired me wasn't there. This was a VP of marketing, not present in any of the trainings or coaching sessions that we were having, just not there, not present at all. And the reason I was there was this agile transformation was 6 months in, and it was totally off the rails, not working. Everyone was super frustrated. The whole thing was just going sideways. And yet the person who was demanding the change was completely MIA. And so after the first day that I was on site, she took me out for a drink. And she sat me down and she said, "All right, you've been here for a day. You've seen a lot. You've talked to a lot of people. What do you think the biggest risk of this not succeeding is?" And I looked her straight in the face and I said, "It's you. You're not driving this. You're not committed to this. You're not demonstrating to your people that this is really important. You've said that it is, and you're demanding that they figure it out, but you're not there with them trying to make it work." And she nodded and didn't really say anything. And then she proceeded to not show up for any of the rest of the sessions for the next 2 days that I was there. Um, that that transformation didn't really stick with that team. Next story that I want to tell you is the good story of how a marketing leader should actually show up when they are trying to get their team to change the way that they work. So this team was just getting started in changing their ways of working, and they were visualizing their work for the very first time. And we were all in one big room, and each team was putting their next pieces of work that they were about to work on up on the wall in their first backlogs. And so it was really just our first step was to just show the work that was coming up next. We weren't prioritizing, we weren't trying to change anything. We were just showing what was happening right now and put it in order of what you were likely to do next. And the CMO was walking around the room, and she was getting increasingly agitated the more that she saw. And I could tell that this was happening. And so I went up to her and was kind of quietly asking what was going on. And she said, "This is wrong. This is all the wrong work that the teams are about to be doing. The stuff at the top of their to-do lists, it's not the right work." And I said, "Well, why do you think that is?" And she said, "This is all the stuff that I know the business unit leaders are asking them to do, but it's not my work. It's not the strategic marketing priorities that I want them to be doing." And I said, "Well, what do you think we could do about that?" And so this was brilliant. She walked around to everybody's backlogs, and these were physical sticky notes that they were putting up on the wall, and she grabbed the sticky notes that she did not want them to be doing, and she pulled them off the walls and put them in her hands, and she said, I don't want you doing this work. It's not adding value to our marketing priorities. I will go and talk to the people who asked you to do this work, and I will tell them it's not going to happen until our mission critical work is completed. And she did. The very next day, she went and had all those hard conversations, and that work went to the bottom of people's backlogs, and they were able to get the important activities done first. So I tell you these stories to illustrate that there are some really good behaviors that enable teams to change the way that they work and allow them to be modern, adaptable, agile marketing teams. And then there are other ways that we behave as leaders that constrain and prevent adaptability in our teams. And the ways that leaders act and the way that we think and the way that we show up can make or break these kinds of changes. And so today we're going to talk about 8 things that you may need to unlearn if you really want to be a modern, agile, and adaptive leader. And these help, by the way, whether you are about to launch an agile transformation or you don't think this is ever going to happen and you don't care about working in agile ways or not. This is just how you have to lead in 2025 and beyond, because whether it's capital A agile with things like sprints and backlogs and work in progress limits, or just adaptable because the world is moving really fast and things are crazy, these ways of thinking and these ways of being as a leader are going to serve you well. So do these things, senior marketing leaders, whether you are leading strictly agile teams or just modern adaptable marketing teams, they're going to serve you well. Do these things, please. Your direct reports will thank you. Okay, so first and foremost, the definition and the expectations around CMOs and marketing executives is changing, right? We are more and more expected to be technologists, analysts, creatives. We're no longer just the brand voice or even just the budget holder for the marketing function. We have to up our fluency in technology and analytics and customer insights, right? So pulling here from CMS Wire, this marketing leadership definition is really shifting. And so if you are not comfortable talking about data, not comfortable talking about technology, you got to get there, right? And so you can't just be the arts and crafts person. You can't just talk about brand. You can't just talk about colors and PR and where the budget is going. You really have to look across the technological capabilities, the digital capabilities, of course, the AI components. Where is it being applied? Why is it being applied there? How are you going to be increasing efficiency and productivity? Where's the ROI? You've got to speak business. You have to speak technology. All of this is table stakes now for CMOs and marketing executives, which leads right into our second unlearning, which is you have got to unlearn this any lingering resistance to new technology. But the flip side to this is we also have to get over this feeling that adopting a new technology is the answer to everything, or that it's somehow just going to be this flip of a switch and that it's this perfectly smooth or transformative moment that solves everything, right? So if you go back to the previous episode, we talked about how this MarTech soup is not the answer, that we have to also be ready to change our processes and operations to go along with the MarTech that we need to be successful as modern marketers. And so this is also the component of getting AI, which is a piece of technology, into our organizations. And so there was a BCG and ANA survey of over 200 CMOs. This is from 2024, and 75% of them said that they were confident about the future impact of Gen AI on their organizations. And even at that point, 80% had already deployed Gen AI for internal efficiencies. But what we are already seeing, I hear this from our clients and prospects on a weekly basis, is that those internal deployments are showing them gaps in processes, in data, and in readiness of their teams to start using AI for external customer-facing use cases. And so you have to embrace the technology, but you also have to be prepared for what it's going to show you and not expect it to be this perfect panacea that solves everything. So be realistic with your expectations and be prepared to evolve everything around the tech and not just plug and play. All right, third thing, we got to unlearn our assumptions about what our customers want. Don't just rely on your internal metrics or past behaviors, but instead go deep and invest in understanding what your customers really, really want. A Gartner survey from just this year, from 2025, found that 58% of consumers are saying that companies fail to understand their needs and priorities when pitching products. And honestly, this is inexcusable in the age of data and in the age of LLMs that can get us access to so much customer insight. And if you're not using SparkToro for trying to understand more about your audience and your prospective customers, just please go do this like right now. This tool is spectacular when combined with LLMs. It can get you so far down the path of understanding what your audience wants, what kind of content and products they would be interested in engaging with. Again, it is inexcusable not to do the legwork to understand what your customers want. And this is desk research level stuff. Just doesn't even require you to have an actual conversation. You should be doing that also. There's no substitute for talking to actual customers, of course. So do the Gen AI stuff, saves you so much time. So now you have time to talk to more of your customers. Don't assume that you know. Even if you've been marketing to the same customers for years, that's going to make you too complacent. You're going to make too many assumptions. People's preferences are evolving super fast. This is a big unlearn that we absolutely need to have top of mind. Again, especially if you've been in the same industry or the same customer niche for a long time. Don't get too complacent and assume that you know everything about your customer or about your audience. Okay, this one is what my first CMO from the story that I told you at the top of the episode definitely needed to unlearn, which is the idea that delegating a major change is the best way to make it happen. You cannot delegate a major change of any kind and expect it to be effective. So yes, the minutia of the day-to-day of a big change of the rollout is probably not your concern. But the effectiveness, the impact, and the longevity, the permanence of that change absolutely should be your concern, because you are going to invest a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of resources in a change initiative. If it doesn't work, that is a big problem, and that is your problem. You are going to be the one who's held to account for a failed change initiative. So delegating it is not a good idea. We have got to unlearn this as senior leaders. Sure, some of the activities around change and change management should be delegated. But the buck is going to stop with you. So you need to establish systems, teams, processes, and absolutely some reporting, hard data, KPIs. They're going to allow you to oversee and manage this change over the long term. If it's a major change like an agile transformation or an AI rollout or a tool implementation, like a new work management system, this is a multi-quarter, potentially a multi-year process. You have to be able to keep your fingers on the pulse of this effort continually. You cannot lose sight of it. You've got to pay attention or it will get away from you. So this is a great opportunity for you to bring people alongside you and help them understand what it's like to oversee a long-term project, a long-term initiative. So you can mentor people, your direct reports, but you yourself have got to be committed to this if you want the change to stick. So you cannot delegate change if you want it to really, really happen. You have to sponsor it, which is why you can't have 7 of these things going on at any given time, which is a related unlearning here. So you cannot delegate and you cannot do a million of these at the same time and expect them to work. Okay, our 5th unlearning then. We need to unlearn this idea that once we hire people, that's it. We did the hire, and now everything is just going to be smooth sailing. And the people are here, and the people do what they're supposed to do. We have to think about people as an ongoing investment. Especially now we have Gen AI, we have all these new AI-enabled tools. The things that made people good at their jobs when we hired them and the job descriptions that people applied for aren't going to apply. If they apply now, they're not going to apply soon. So our best bet is to think about the people that we have as a malleable, adjustable resource that can grow and evolve with our team. And we should be hiring people who are excited to grow and evolve and be upskilled and are not set in their ways. But this has to be an unlearning on the part of CMOs and senior leadership that that the hiring process is the final step in our relationship with our employees. It's an ongoing back and forth, give and take relationship. And we have to create an environment where this is a conversation. And it is an environment that enables people to identify the skills that they want, that enables the organization to identify missing skills and find the people who are wanting those skills, have the aptitude for those skills. Because in 2024, PricewaterhouseCoopers Pulse survey said that 91% of CMOs said attracting and retaining marketing talent was difficult. So finding good people and keeping them is hard. And so allowing them to keep diversifying their skills and making them feel like there's some pull and extension of their skills in a lot of different directions is the best way to keep great people on your team. And that is the best way to stand out in the age of AI, is to have amazing humans on your team, because everyone can access AI. Not everyone can access brilliant people. So if you have brilliant people, work really, really hard to keep them around, because those things are not easy to replicate. And so closely related to this is our 6th unlearning, which is we got to stop thinking of talent as a fixed asset. So it is a always evolving and growing thing, right? Our talent is as much an evolving thing as our tech stack, right? We should be thinking about how to up level it the same way we would not be using the same tech stack that we used in 1998. We should not be using the same org structure and the same skill sets that we were using back in 1998 either. It's not 1998. The same skill sets and the same kinds of combinations of people that we were using then are not going to cut it either. Which is why, again, from that same PricewaterhouseCoopers study, 57% of CMOs are planning to invest in talent and upskilling in the next 12 months. This is so much cheaper from a time and investment standpoint than hiring a whole bunch of folks. It's far, far more efficient to upskill and grow the people that you have in-house than to go out and find new people, assuming that you've hired well already. Sometimes, this is a good opportunity to swap out a C player for an A player. So if this is a good moment to do that, great. If you've still got a 1998 type person, maybe this is a good opportunity to bring that role into the 21st century. But if it's not that situation, obviously upskilling is a better opportunity. So this brings us to unlearning number 7. And 7 and 8 are really closely related to the tenure and career paths of CMOs. And this always gets a lot of coverage and play when these numbers come out every year because CMOs have a really short tenure in their role compared to other C-suite executives. And so there's always all this hand wringing when these numbers come out about why are CMOs churning so fast and what's going on with that. So if we look at the 2025 numbers, right, from Spencer Stuart, it's about 4.3 years for CMOs at Fortune 500 companies. Now, we can infer maybe from this that leadership patterns or strategies or assumptions that we're making are not sustaining CMOs in their roles over the long term. And so maybe CMOs need to unlearn a whole lot of things. Maybe we need to stop doing a lot of the stuff as senior marketing executives that we have been doing because they're getting us fired, right? Things like trying to do a major rebrand or redo the website every time we come into a new role, because you know what those things take? A whole lot of time and budget. You know what those things don't do? Deliver massive ROI right away. So maybe instead of these big projects that don't deliver a lot, maybe we should be looking for some quick wins and some agile experimentation that delivers rapid results so we can show our value quickly. Because if you just got 4 years and you're going to spend the first 9 months on these listening tours and website redesigns, that doesn't seem like a good use of time. Maybe we can draw those conclusions from this and say that CMOs need to unlearn a ton about what got them into this role and not do those things. However, if we look at some of the other surrounding data around this, from that same Spencer Stuart study, we see that 65% of Fortune 500 CMOs who leave their roles go to a similar or higher role. So they're either getting promoted or they're moving laterally. So we could conclude here that the CMO is still valued, and maybe their quote unquote failure is stemming more from some kind of misalignment of expectations with the role they left than from their lack of skill. So maybe unlearning is less about capacity, more about habits or mindset. There's a lot of squishiness here, but I think it's safe to say that CMOs and executive teams are often misaligned. That what other executives expect from CMOs and what CMOs are delivering doesn't line up. And so finding ways to bridge that gap through a lot of the unlearnings that we've talked about, through speaking technologies, getting more comfortable with data and rapid ROI delivery, through getting your people more in sync with modern, upskilled AI enablement, all of these things really coming into 2025 ways of working and not just being fixated on brand or some of these more, I'll say, squishy, fluffy types of marketing that people tend to associate with kind of the older school of marketing. Obviously, this isn't what gets every CMO into trouble. A lot of these CMOs are doing exactly what I'm talking about and still getting removed from their roles. This isn't the perfect solution to everybody's troubles, but oftentimes these are unlearnings that need to happen. So, if any of what I'm saying feels like it might apply to you, and that maybe it's time to do some unlearning and bring yourself into a more modern, evolved, agile way of leading as a senior marketing executive, my team at Agile Sherpas has supported CMOs and their direct reports through some of the most gnarly moments that you can imagine. And we'd be honored to be your partner as you evolve to meet whatever your current challenges may be. So if you would like to talk about partnering, shoot me an email at andrea.fryrear@agileSherpas.com and let's chat. Till next time, I'm your host, Andrea Fryrear. And don't forget, the struggle is real, but so is agile marketing.